All right, everybody. You know what time it is. The Real Talk Sports Show. Yeah, it's coming up right now. Bam! Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. You know who. It's your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we thank God for all those of you who are tuning in on us here. And we want to say, first of all, Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Hopefully you had a great Christmas, and hopefully the New Year's are starting off very nicely for you. That is our prayer and our hope for you, and that you will have a great 2025 year. Well, here's something that has not changed. Our moniker, our handle on social media has not changed. So please follow us anywhere on social media at Real Talk Sports, the number 7. Follow us there, please, on all social media platforms. We're on YouTube, where we are now over 1,200 subscribers. Thank the Lord for that. We're trying to get to our next goal of 1,300 subscribers. And obviously, we're trying to get to those big numbers as we continue to try to grow here on social media. And we thank you and you and you for tuning in to joining us as you do each and every week. Well, we got a lot of ups and downs here in Atlanta as far as the sports scene going on. We thought that we'd be talking about the opening game of the playoffs involving a home game for the Atlanta Falcons, but no, we don't have that. Instead, we have a season ending on a really kind of a bad note. So my question was out there on social media. Are you hopeful after what you saw with the young gun Michael Penix and his performance and that dazzling left arm that he has? Or are you still hurting from the fact that this was a team that just 2 months ago was 6-3, actually about 6-4, and with a pretty much shoe-in to go to postseason? So love to get your comments on that. Also want to get your comments on the Hawks. It seems like since they have went out west, the Hawks have faded. All the excitement of this Hawks team, they won 7 out of 10. They had won 3 in a row. All that went bum, bum, ba-dum. Yeah, they went out the West Coast, and the Hawks have really played very poorly out on the West Coast. They've lost 3 straight games, and really none of them have been close. And so the question is just the fact that the West is much better than the East, as they have been for the last couple of years, or is this Hawks team kind of tricked us into thinking that they were much better than they actually were? Love to get your comments on that. But the bottom line is the Hawks have kind of faded back after that really beautiful run they had. Let's take a look at the scores since they've been out in the West Coast. It really has been a disaster. I mean, an absolute disaster. After shellacking the Raptors on their first part of the road trip, they went out to Denver and lost to the two-time NBA finalist, the Denver Nuggets. Denver, of course, won the NBA title 2 years ago, and the Nuggets basically beat the brakes off them. I mean, it was 139 to 120 against the uh, really an outstanding Denver team. You would hope that the Hawks would play a little bit better when they play against this top team again, especially since they had looked really well in that 3-game stretch. But they lose 139 to 120 to start the West Coast trip. Then they get beaten by the Lakers, a team they actually beat here in overtime. Lakers took it to them 119 to 102. And then they went and played the other LA team, the Clippers. And I'm not sure what happened, but they just got destroyed by the Clippers. And, you know, when you see these kind of things and the Hawks have now fallen back to 500, you go, you know, come on, what happened? You know, why are we not able to compete against these types of teams? Yeah, I understand these teams are very good. I understand how they have a lot of top players, but I mean, the Hawks just weren't in this contest at all. You're getting beat by 26 points. Just a terrible showing by the Hawks overall. But that was the final, 131 to 105. Hawks trying to get right to strip. Let's take a look at some of the stats from the Hawks game that they did lose there. Our number one overall pick, Zachary Richardson, continues to grow as an NBA player, 5 of 11 from the floor. He had a total of 13 points. He had 3 assists, and he also had 5 rebounds. Clint Capella had an off game for him, totally dominated. Only 6 points for Clint Capella and just 7 rebounds, as Clint had one of his, kind of his worst games of the year. Trae Young is continuing to surely find his shooting touch. Trae Young, 4 of 11 from three-point range, 36% overall, 37.5% from the field, 18 points for Trae Young. But the biggest thing is they really kind of, kept Trae at bay for most of the game. But like I said, the shooting is up, and that's really a good sign for the Hawks. Another huge game in terms of assists. He had 14 assists, actually had 20 points, only 3 turnovers and a steal. So, any top point guard, what you want is to have a situation where you go at least 2-1 on assist to turnovers. And to Trae Young's credit, he has really been playing lights out. And I think he should be a guy that we'd look at for a all-star game look. And the biggest problem that you're having right now with the Hawks, why, again, they're getting beat so badly, is they once again are shorthanded. Jalen Johnson, again, out with an injury, and Bogey Bogdanovic also out. So those two guys are integral parts of this Hawks team. So Hawks once again playing a little bit shorthanded, and probably the reason why they got the break speed off them. But anyway, like I said again, they've lost 3 straight and now find themselves back to 500 and out of that top 5 spot that you want to be as you go into postseason play. Now, of course, we got a ways to go. And hopefully, like I said again, this injury bug will somehow take itself off of this Hawks team. But like I said, man, it just amazed me every time this team kind of gets on a roll. It seems like something happens, either an injury or they forget how to play their type of ball, which I always have mentioned since they have this athletic, lengthy team. The Hawks have to constantly have what we call active hands on defense, and they have to play downhill on offense, which means you don't want to get into too many half-court sets. You want to continue to attack the rim. You got great athleticism in Jalen Johnson, in the number 1 pick overall, Zachary Decachet, and also on Dyson Daniels. He's proven to be a decent finisher at the front of the rim as well. So when you have all of these types of athletic guys, you really have to constantly push the ball, and that's going to be the Hawks' only real way to win, especially against teams that have a big, teams like the Bucks, teams like the Nuggets, teams like the Lakers, where they have bigs that can hurt you. You have to make them defend you the full 90 feet. You have to make them come and chase you. So, that's really the Hawks' game plan. Hopefully, once everybody is healthy, the Hawks can show you what they got. I tell you what has been a pleasant surprise for this Hawks team is the guy they call Gary Bird. Garrison Matthews has been lights out from 3-point range this year. This guy has put on a spectacular performance, scoring just under 10 points a game for the Hawks. Like I said, the big thing is his 3-point shooting has been outstanding. You know, he is just putting up some ridiculous percentages. Let's go to take a look and see if we got his percentage here from 3-point range. Because, like I said, again, just watching this guy has been stout. I'm going to pull up the stats here. He is. Let's see if they have the percentage, which they may or may not. Sometimes they don't have it when I go to really need it. But the bottom line is he's up. His minutes are up about 19 minutes a game. His scoring is up. He's just under 10 points a game. Like I said, the biggest thing is, man, he has been nasty from the 3-point range. And hopefully he will continue to do so because that's really, I think, a big key with this Hawk team is his ability to hit from three, because now you have a situation where you have more guys to worry about than just Trae Young. So Garrison Matthews putting on a real nice performance. The other guy's really doing us big is DeAndre Hunter. This guy's an odds-on favorite for, sixth man of the year. DeAndre Hunter has been incredible, averaging just around 20 points a game. But more importantly, he's doing this only averaging somewhere around 20, 24 minutes per game. So this guy's almost like a point a game. And last night, decent game for the Hawks, 18 points, 36% from three, 4 of 11 from the 3-point range. So like I say again, man, the Hawks have really a tremendous foundation and a team that can, if they can be consistent, again, in having active hands on defense, playing downhill on offense, this Hawk team, I think, can make some noise and get into potentially a decent spot in the NBA playoffs. Because, like I said again, once you get in there, man, anything's possible. You know what I'm saying? Anything is possible once you kind of get in and are able to actually, get in these playoffs. Because, at that time, all bets are off. We're all even, Steven. And so, again, we hope that the Hawks will continue to do this. Let's take a look at the standings here really quickly to let you know where the Hawks might stand. Right here in the Eastern Conference, this is how it stacks out. The first 6 teams obviously don't have to go into the play-in round. So let's take a look at them. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been one of the best teams in the league all year long, only 4 losses for the Cavaliers, 31-4 overall. Right behind them, Boston Celtics, 26-10. Knicks and New York Knicks, they've been a pleasant surprise for the New York fans, 20-13. They're in third place overall, ahead of the Magic, who are in fourth place. The Milwaukee Bucks in fifth place, and the Indiana Pacers in sixth place. And then right behind them, tied for seventh place, really 7 and 8, would be the Hawks and the Pistons. Now, here's the good news. Even with the Hawks being in eighth place right now, they're 13 and a half games out of first, but more importantly, they're only just 3 games out of the number 4 spot behind the Orlando Magic. Isn't that something? I mean, so the Hawks, even though they've fallen into this bad streak, lost their last 3, 4 and 6 overall in the last 10 games, they still are within shouting distance of getting all the way up to the 4th seed, which means they would actually have and host a playoff series. And how cool would that be to once again have State Farm Arena rocking in a postseason situation where the Hawks would actually be the home team and have that, if it goes to 7, that 4th game. So Hawks fans, be encouraged. The Hawks still are in a good shape, even though, like I say again, they've been banged up with stops and starts all year in terms of injuries. But the good news is this Hawks team is still within shouting distance of the number 4 seed, which is really, really, really you kind of want to be. You might even want to be in the 6th seed, but the bottom line is you want to get out of 7th to 10th. You don't want to be in that plane anymore. That's just nowhere to be for the Hawks. So, like I said, good news is nobody's really pulling away outside of the Cavaliers and the Celtics, and to some degree the Knicks. Everybody else, from the Magic on down, they're all, still 4 or 5 games over 500. The only teams that are double digits over 500 right now are the top 3 teams, Cavaliers, Celtics, and Knicks. So, again, if the Hawks can once again get a hot streak, get some of their players back, this Hawks team could, in fact, find themselves making some noise in postseason play. I think that's what everybody wants to see here out of this Atlanta team. I mean, really, Atlanta is desperate. I say desperate for a winner. And we want to see championship caliber ball. So now, those of you who are Hawks fans who are checking this out, what do you guys think? What do you think the Hawks really need to get to the next level? What do they need to get some consistency? And we have, and like I said again, they have been much better this year. especially defensively. And I know they have some problems out on the West Coast. Like I think some of that is due to injury, but really the addition to me, one of the biggest surprises and one of the biggest steals so far in the NBA season has been the play of Dyson Daniels. I mean, who knew? I mean, I know the guy was a high first round pick when New Orleans drafted him, but the guy basically was languishing on the bench, and now he's come out here and he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Matter of fact, leads the NBA in assists. So big shout out to the Hawks. They actually did something Atlanta teams normally don't do, is come out on the good side of a trade. Remember that it was a trade for DeJounte Murray. They got in Dyson Daniels. They also got Larry Nance Jr., who's been a nice player for them, and they also have draft picks. So kudos to the Hawks front management team by able to put this deal together to help fortify this Hawks team. Well, speaking of putting it together, we got to put together and let our sponsors and those who support us talk to you a little bit about what they do and how they do it. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. We're back with more of great sports talk, including a little bit of college football playoffs, a little bit of NFL playoffs towards the end. And of course, the Falcons. Are you hurting or are you hopeful? Keep it locked right here. We'll be right back. Did you know that Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, Georgia also has Lincoln? Over 35 years of using the Vigil Touch to provide excellent customer service, works hand in hand with the Lincoln Motor Company to provide a luxurious and seamless way to acquire your next luxury vehicle. Lincoln has an array of full-service complimentary owner benefits. These benefits include hospitality partnerships, service pickup and delivery, all which can be accessed through the Lincoln Way app. You can even contact the 24/7 concierge to have someone assist you. Come and see our great inventory of new and pre-owned Lincolns today. Call 678-364-7345 to make an appointment with one of our brand champions or shop 24/7 online at allenvigillincoln.net.
Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm Aria, the first AI presenter for Real Talk Sports. We want to get your feedback about my participation in the show, so please leave comments. So stay tuned, the Real Talk Sports Show is coming up.
A little smooth music there on the break. Thanks for those of you who again have tuned in to join us here on the Real Talk Sports Show. Well, we're talking a little college football playoffs, but before we get into that, sadly, a lot of sadness around the college football playoffs this year with two really tragedies striking the event, especially the event down in New Orleans. First of all, we wanted to give a big, I guess, virtual hug to the family of Kirby Smart. What I didn't realize is, and I just noticed it today, that in the middle of all the chaos with the bomb, with not bombing, but the alleged terrorist strike where the gentleman drove his car into a group of celebratory people at the Sugar Bowl. I believe 15 people total killed and about the same number injured. Uh, in that same day, Kirby Smart's dad was there. Now, he wasn't involved in the situation that I just mentioned, but while he was there, slipped, fell, broke his hip. And it was so debilitating that he really began to decline health wise and unfortunately passed away during the holiday season. And of course, like I mentioned, my condolences out to all the people who had loved ones that lost their lives in a terrible tragedy at the Sugar Bowl. And it just really made for a really a bad day. Anytime you have a situation where you have a sporting event where people are supposed to be having fun, people are supposed to be enjoying themselves and celebrating, and death then moves in and strikes in the way it did, it just really reminds us all that sports is fun and but it's really a distraction from real life. Your real life is people are hurting, people go through things, people are going through difficulties day in and day out, and really at times sports is designed to just be a distraction. Sometimes we take this thing too seriously. Fans have gotten into fights. I watched a horrible thing here. I believe it was in New Orleans. It might have been Atlanta, where some New Orleans and some Atlanta fans got into a fight. A fan was knocked down and literally stomped and kicked in the head. Now, I got to tell you, where are we going here? It's just not that serious. I hate to kind of go off course here a little bit, but one of the things that really has troubled me is the shift and away from the sport and the competition to the over the top virtual by fans behavior, sometimes over the top, uh, I don't know what you call it, taunting or talking by players, and this quest for money at all costs. And I'm not talking about the players. Everybody wants to throw shots at the players, but we're the adults in the room. I look at this whole thing with the NIL and with adding all these teams into the playoffs and people complaining about, oh, my team should have been in there and the playoffs weren't that good. Well, let's kind of boil that down for a second. First of all, we know that all these teams are in there because the greed of the athletic directors, the greed of the commissioners of these different conferences. We've seen conferences implode. We have no more Pac-12. This account's been around for years. Now there's no more Pac-12. We look at how people ran out and left even the Big 12. We look at how Texas and Oklahoma left the Big 12 and went into the Lord have mercy, I just lost my train of thought. You had teams leaving the Big 12 to go to the SEC. You had teams leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big 10. Why? For money. It makes it more difficult on the student athletes. Now you're talking about repeatedly having to make these cross-country treks, or at least half the country treks, to play games. There's no natural synergy between these two teams. You got a team that's on the West Coast now having to start a rivalry with a team in the Midwest during the season. These games, these types of intersectional games were designed to be one-offs. They were designed to be bowl games, not to be part of any type of strategy that teams would have for these mega conferences. And it's all about money and greed. Speaking of money and greed, the NILs, again, we can take shots at the student athlete all we want. Well, actually, really just the athlete now. But the realities is that the NIL never became what it was supposed to be, which is name, image, and likeness, which is a player is supposed to get compensation for the use of his or her name, image, or likeness, i.e. their name on the back of a jersey, the type of shoes they use, signing autographs at events, a car dealership like the one I work for, offering a sponsorship where they use a free car. This is what name, image, and likeness is about. What we have now is what they call, even a name sounds sinister, the collective. That's what we have now. All of these schools, in their greed and their quest to win at all costs, have now pushed boosters to form these collectives where they're basically just paying for play. And the other problem you have is the portal. I understand, that students should be able to leave and not have to lose any type of eligibility, because coaches don't have to do that. But it's gotten insane where guys are just leaving, quitting in the middle of the season. Guys are signing with 2 or 3 different teams. There is no rules or regulation at all. It's just chaos. Why? Because of greed by adults, grown people who see the sport as a cash cow. And they've decided we're going to get the money at any cost. And let me wrong. I think it's great for the student athlete to get paid, because you're generating millions and now even billions of dollars with some of these contracts. But there should be some type of guidelines on how the money is given to the student athlete, when the money is given to a student athlete, and even to some degree, how much money these schools can spend. Now, I get it. You'll say, Minister, they've been, the bag man has been passing out money to student athletes for a long time. I get it. I understand that. But it doesn't make it right that you now have these collectives which are going over the top with almost unrestrained fundraising. I'm just saying, probably OG just ran out. Well, here's the good news, boys and girls, for those of you who have missed us. I know the real reason why you guys tune into the Real Talk Sports Show. I have one of the most beautiful women on sports talk radio and or TV that joins us when she can, and in all of her glamour and dazzling beauty, she's back. The Queen, Tree Dolman, is back in the building. Welcome back.
Hello, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year.
I ain't seen you since last year.
True.
There we go.
I've seen you since last year.
Well, how you be? How you be? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Praise the Lord. Yeah, doing well. Had a little, as I told people, had a little lumpy bumpy here, a little health scare, a little high blood pressure going out of control. But praise the Lord, looks like we're getting it handled now. So
yay, that's a good thing. Gotta take care of your health.
It's very scary when your blood pressure is not right, and especially some of the numbers I saw, which was very scary. But anyway, thank the Lord, we're feeling much better now. Feeling better now. Now, did you go anywhere for the holidays? Did you keep it home?
No, I stayed home.
Hey, Big Papa's here. Who needs to go anywhere?
Exactly.
That's right. Well, Tree, one of the things I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with this, but I had a chance to watch some of the college football playoff games, which some were good, some weren't. And constantly now the news. It seems like every day we're hearing about somebody doing this for NIL, somebody transferring, somebody going to the portal. Any thoughts at all about what we can do? First of all, what do you think about kind of the state of where things are with this seeming like unchecked movement in the portal and some of these huge sums that are being put together on these NILs to pay the student athlete?
Well, I mean, I really don't care about the large sums of money that the student athletes are getting because they're working hard for them. So the ones that are able to make the money, they should make the money. As far as the portal, I think it's great that people can transfer, but I think it's a little crazy that people are able to transfer every single year. I think there should be a limit, maybe 2, 3 times maximum somebody should be able to transfer. But I get sometimes you go to a program and you don't like it there and you may want to transfer, and sometimes coaches lie to get you there. So I do believe in giving athletes a way to transfer and get out if they're in a situation that they're not happy with. Me personally, I don't like the idea of being able to transfer every year, but nobody else seems to have a problem with that. So if they're not having a problem with it, I doubt that they're going to change that rule. But as far as the NIL deals, I agree with athletes that are getting paid to be able to get paid.
Yeah, I have no problem with them getting paid. I just have a problem with the way it's constructed. I just think it's just you just basically it's not even, you might as well not even call it NIL because that's not what it is. NIL, again, for those of you who don't know, the definition means name, image, and likeness, which means the concept was, because all this started when Ed O'Banion sued the NCAA because he said, "Hey, we got the video game where all of our likeness, we're being out there and EA Sports making all this money, we're not getting anything from it." So the idea was, okay, if we're using your name, your image, or your likeness, you get paid. That's not what's happening now. Now it's like, come to my school and I'll pay you $1 million. And
Well,
I
no,
just,
I mean, most of the NIL deals are not coming from the school. It's just recently when the NCAA lost the lawsuit where now the schools are paying, but before it wasn't the actual universities that were paying these NIL deals. So the new NIL deals are something that's coming new from the universities, where we also see where the University of Tennessee, they're actually adding a percentage onto all of their ticket sales so that they can pay the student athletes. But again, that's new. The NILs were not coming from the actual universities at first.
I mean, I know that, but I'm saying the whole idea of these consortiums, because again, they might as well like take that moniker off because again, the name, image, and likeness is pretty specific. We're going to pay you for using your name, your image, or your likeness. That's not what happened. We're paying you to play now. And that's a whole different ballgame. Completely
Well, I
different.
mean, yes and no. They are getting paid for their name, image, and likeness because the schools are using their names, image, and likeness, which they do for all student athletes pretty much. But so it is name, image, and likeness, even with the schools paying it because they are using their names, their images, and their likeness. So that's actually not true.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I got a disconnect. Because I know when I had to sign a name, image, and likeness, Ford said, "Hey, you won this contest. We're gonna pay you $500, but you have to agree to let us use your name, image, and likeness in a video." Just seems to be a lot different than, "Hey, we're gonna, you know, pay for play." It just is to me. I have no problem with anybody getting paid, but to me, it just seems to be very unruly. And it seems to be no jurisdiction. And even the idea of the University of Tennessee having to go to um, the fan base and say, "Oh, by the way, we're going to put a surcharge on your ticket so we can load up on these consortiums." Yeah, it's a little disconcerting to me. As far as the transfer portal. I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier. I mean, I think there should be a limit. Maybe I think probably two is the magic number. Really, I think it probably should be just one. But and I think you shouldn't be able to do it in the middle of a season. The idea that somebody say, hey, "Look, I'm not going to play," and that's it. I mean, it just at some point there has to be, "Hey, I agree to do this, and even I don't like it, I'm gonna kind of do it to the end of the year, and then I'll leave." But this in the middle of the season stuff, teams, to some degree, even recruiting guys in to leave the schools, it's just getting kind of crazy.
I agree. But I will say, if someone transfers in the middle of the season, I think that's their prerogative. But I think that in most cases, there should be penalized for it. If you are going somewhere, you should not be able to do that. I think, especially with seeing a lot of these bowl games where a lot of players did not play because they were transferring, going to different schools. And then you have some schools where players were transferring, but they did play. We know the University of Michigan won their bowl game, and they had a lot of players that most people did not know, because a lot of the players didn't want to play because they're going into the NFL draft, which I get that. You don't want to risk injury. I did like how Deion Sanders in Colorado put more insurance on their players that were going to the NFL draft so that they could feel comfortable and play in the bowl game. But I think more schools should do that and make the players feel more comfortable. So as far as the players that are getting drafted, they'll feel comfortable playing in bowl games. But as far as the players who are transferring, I think that it's definitely messing up their season, and that's not fair to the school. So I do agree. Yes, there needs to be more stipulations put in place where players just can't do that. I mean, you're not just belling on your university that you're currently at, but you're also belling on your team. And I don't like that. I think that right now everything is just haywire. It's like, do what you want to do what you want to do what you want to do. Yes, I believe that the players are the ones with the power, but there needs to be more stipulations put on these things. The only problem is, now that they've rolled these things out, it's going to be hard to bring them down without getting more lawsuits and more complaints from the players.
Oh, let's go to social media. Let's see here. Go ahead,
Hey,
Miss T.
Todd. He said, well, we back. We're back, Todd. He said, paying for image and likeness, bunch of crap. It's pay for play. Laugh out loud. It is pay for play, but they are using your name, image, and likeness. Regardless of what anybody says, every student athlete, their name, image, and likeness is used in college. I mean, it was that way back when I was playing. They were using my name, image, and likeness. The only difference is that I wasn't getting paid for it, but they do use your name, image, and likeness. But yes, I agree, it is also pay for play. That is a fact, because most of these players, it's like, oh, well, who's going to pay me the most money? I'm going here. And that one player was like, oh, well, they promised me this much money, so I'm not going to play. I'm going to use my red shirt and transfer. It's definitely pay for play, but they are using their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, it's really kind of it really is kind of out of control. I mean, at some point, well, and they may not. And I don't, and like I mentioned early on, I don't blame the players not one bit. I blame the adults in the room, because in essence, they're the guys that have to kind of put some uh kind of foundation. And they don't, because it is strictly a situation of greed and ego. People, so the SEC, Greg Stanky stands up there with a template, blah, 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 blah. Hey, man, listen, at the end of the day, you have teams coming to the SEC not because they want to come, it's because they think they can make more money. That was the whole shift to going to the Big Ten. It's got nothing to do with, hey, we think you guys have the greatest conference. It's about money. Huh?
No.
Yeah.
That is not true. Is money a part of it? Yes, but I don't care
Huge
what
part.
you say. The SEC and the Big Ten are the two best conferences for football. So regardless of money, a lot of teams do want to be in the best conferences. And yes, it's nice to get paid too, but I don't think that it was solely because of money. I think, yes, that was a nice big part to it, but come on now, if you have a chance to be in the top two conferences for football and you want to be respected and recognized and play against the best so that people will say, oh, they're a part of this greatness, You would want that too.
That's what you have postseason for. That's what you had great rivalries for. That's why you had the Rose Bowl. You had the Pac-12 against the Big Ten, bragging rights. All that stuff is all it. It's
Mm-mm.
about money and greed and big,
No.
huge.
Look what
Yes,
happened to Florida State. So you can't say that. They were undefeated and they did not make it postseason to where they wanted to go. Why? Because of the conference. So no, you cannot say that the postseason was for that. Now, this is the first year that we have the playoffs where, yes, you win your conference and you do this, you get to go in. So had the playoffs been going on the way that they are now, yes, Florida State would have been in undefeated. But you saw what happened to them. So that proves that your conference matter. So you cannot say that no, doesn't matter what conference, postseason is here for that. No, because that wasn't always the case. And even now, with the way things are going, they're still talking about how some people were complaining because the first games in the playoff, they didn't like that it was blowouts. Well, guess what? That's going to happen sometimes. And we also saw where all of the teams that had the first round bye, they all went bye-bye, right? Because like I've always said, giving a team too much time off, I don't think is good. And we saw that that hasn't been good. So we'll still see where there'll probably be some more changes. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But my point is, conference mattered, and it mattered more in the past years than this year because we see what happened with Florida State, who went undefeated and didn't make it to the national championship.
I still think that at some point, I mean, it we can't. These things happen. I mean, it's like everyone's like, well, I can't win. Well, guess what? There are some years where very, very good teams will not be able to advance. It's just the nature of the beast. That's the way it goes. I mean, like
Right, but it
everybody
matters your
just
conference.
nah. I mean, I don't. I just in my mind, I'm like, hey, the conference is set up primarily so that you have these regional competitions. That was the original idea. You have these conferences. You're playing guys in your region now, and here's the other thing too. For those university presidents, it's great for football. Okay. Not so bad for basketball. What about all the other sports where you're asking these teams to travel, softball teams, volleyball teams, going back and forth across the country where they don't have these budgets? And what
I mean,
about the
that's true.
student athletes where, you're asking them now to travel cross country 2, 3, 4 times a year? I mean, so it's at some point, I mean, I get it, but either it's college or it's pro. And I understand the huge amounts of money that are involved, but I just think it should be done differently. You either going to at least try to have a student athlete. So maybe, hey, we're gonna give you an NIL. Let's save some of the money until after you leave. Let's maybe put in something in place where, in addition to an NIL, we give you the right to come back as anytime you want, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, if you desire to get your degree. I mean, let's put some things in
Well,
place to kind of
well,
let the pros be the pros. You want to go to the pro, then go. Then maybe the other thing they should think about is maybe having some type of minor league, or maybe having something where in the NFL, like the NBA, the players can go younger and go play pro.
I want to comment on that, but first I want to read Todd's comment. So Todd said, we got high school football kids up here in Gainesville getting paid big money, which I agree. That is what you are going to see in high school and college now because the can is open, right? But as far as what you were saying about not paying them as much and using money in different ways for these players, again, most of the NIL money is not coming from the university. So you cannot tell a company not to pay a player and to invest the money in the university so that they can get their degree later. That's up to them. If Reebok or Nike or Adidas wants to pay a player, I don't care how much money they want to pay them, that's their business. That has nothing to do with the university. Now, if you're talking about the money that's coming from the university, that's completely different. But we know that most of the money from the NIL deals are not coming from the universities. It's coming from outside businesses. It's coming from business owners and people that support the university. So I disagree with that. I don't care how much somebody in college is getting paid. I don't care if they're getting paid $50 million. If that is how much that player is getting paid, and if that is how much a company wants to pay that player, that is their business. And people cannot tell them how to spend their money. That's their business. We know that the NIL is here. It's here. Okay. Yes. Do I think they need to do some things and make definitely some stipulations and bring it down? Yes. But right now, it's just wide open, and you can't tell these companies that they can't pay these players. It's just not fair. These kids are working hard. If they're great, then they're great. And Todd said it's all about money, Tree. Well, for most people, it's all about money. We still have some athletes where it's not all about money. It's very few, but there's some. And then Todd also said, bottom line, college NIL needs a cap, like a salary cap. I agree. I think it would be nice to have a cap. But since it doesn't, you can't tell this one company that they can't pay this person 50 million if they want to. That's their business. Todd also said, not true now, Tree. Now most colleges now paying their players. They're charging NIL on the ticket prices. No, Todd, that's what I said. I didn't say that. I said most of the money. I didn't say all. They recently changed it where the NCAA lost the lawsuit. I believe this happened last year. And now the NCAA is paying players. I know that. That's not what I said. I said most of the NIL money is not coming from the colleges. And that actually is true. So the colleges, like I was saying earlier, Tennessee, they're adding a surcharge onto their ticket prices so that they can pay the players. A lot of other schools are doing different things. My alma mater, they have a fund and different things, and we can donate to that fund and other ways that all of the schools now, because they have to pay the players, are adding this surcharge to make it happen. But most of the NIL money is not coming from the colleges. Most of it is coming from outside companies and outside sources who support those colleges because they want the schools to be great. Oh, Todd said, my bad, Tree.
Yeah, and I just want to make it plain. When I meant the colleges are paying, I meant through these collectives. I mean, and I'm not talking about a situation where Nike says, "Hey, this." Goes back to my original point. I'm not saying a situation where Nike says, "Hey, we're going to pay this guy because he wears Nikes. We're going to pay this young lady because she wears our gowns." I'm not because that really fits into the idea of name, image, and likeness. What I'm looking at is basically collectives. Like when Georgia Tech brought in this lineman, no one said, "Oh, by the way, this is this lineman is getting $800,000 from the Mall of Georgia." It was like, hey, we're giving the guy $800,000 from out of the collective. It's like coming out of from our boosters. And I get it. Boosters have always been involved. They've always been behind the scenes. We have the quote unquote the bag man. Speaking of collective, let's get a definition of collective. Let's go here to on3.com. It says, what are NIL collectives and how do they operate? So NCAA Board of Directors adopted an interim rule opening opportunity for NIL activity beginning July 2020. Athletes are finally able to receive financial compensation. Says sports attorney NIL pioneer Daryl Heitner recalls receiving a direct message, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. It says here from Eddie Rojas that morning, the former Florida baseball star had described a business model that pooled together cash from boosters to provide opportunities for student athletes. The two tossed around a name for the organization. A month later, the Gator Collective was formed. And that's how we do it right now. Now, a situation where, hey, it's like we pull our money together. Pay him, baby. Pay me. God dang it, pay me. Which, like I said, I don't have no problem with players getting paid.
They are still using their name, image, and likeness. Regardless of what anybody is saying, their name, their image, and their likeness is being used. So it is an NIL.
There we go. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to get ready to take a break and get ready to hopefully talk something besides the nasty going on in terms of college football. Speaking of college football, though, we are down to the Final Four. We have the Texas Longhorns. We have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We also have the Ohio State Buckeyes and the team that many people thought wouldn't be here, the Penn State Nittany Lions. So the Big Ten.
And how many Big Ten dominance? How many SEC tools? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. My point is, even listen. You always know, Jonathan, how I feel about getting the respect from the Big Ten. So since the ratings were coming out, you kept saying Big Ten, 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 Big Ten. So all I'm saying is give us some respect. Some respect on it. Georgia couldn't hang. Alabama couldn't hang. I know Ty go get on me and Selly if you don't hear about Georgia going down. But my point is, Big Ten football is still where it's at. I rest my case.
No doubt. Big Ten, you got to give them their kudos. Dominant performance, 4 teams in, just like the SEC. But unfortunately for the SEC, they have just one team left. And technically, that team was a newcomer in Texas. But the Blue Bloods from the SEC are nowhere to be found. Georgia knocked out of the box and a dominant performance by Notre Dame, where they basically hit him with a blitzkrieg, scored 17 points in about 14 minutes to put the knockout punch on him. And really, Marcus Freeman, kind of the hot new guy, this brother outsmarted Kirby Smart in that big win over the Georgia Bulldogs. So, yeah,
and
SEC.
Alabama lost to who? Alabama lost to who?
I believe the Michigan Wolverines.
Hey!
The Michigan Wolverines.
The Michigan Wolverines. Todd.
Hey, listen. Gotta give credit to whom credit is due.
Remember, because I'm like, oh, national champions. Oh, well, this year. Yes, I know. This is a rebuilding year because we had the most draft picks out of the college into the NFL last year with our number 1 Michigan Wolverines. Our head coach left, but just saying, even with all of that, we still have beat Alabama the last 2 times we played them. I'm just saying. So thank you. Put some respect on the Big Ten. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Go Blue.
I gotta give the Big Ten their kudos. They took care of business. Michigan, and to Michigan's credit, knocked off 2 Blue Bloods down the stretch. Knocked off Ohio State and then turned around in the bowl game and knocked off the Alabama Crimson Tide. So big shout out to those guys. Well, really quickly before we go to a break, who do you like? Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame. Who do you like to get to that final championship game?
So who do I like or who do I think? Because I would like for Notre Dame to win, and I would like for Ohio State to win. So that's who I would like to see is Ohio State and Notre Dame, just for the legacy and the history of football with those 2 programs. But who do I think? I'm a little conflicted with the Notre Dame Texas, just looking at the play of both of the teams. Texas, I mean, they're really playing some really great football, so is Notre Dame. But I think I'm still gonna go with that. Ohio State and Notre Dame. That's who I'm seeing in the championship. Who are you going with?
Sounds good. I'm going to we'll maybe have a little bit of a shock here. We're going to predict that for the very first time, we're going to have not 1 but 2 African-American coaches playing for the title of champion of football. Penn State Nittany Lions will clash against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the big game, which actually will be held right here in downtown Georgia at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So there it is. Trees predicting the Ohio State Buckeyes against Notre Dame. We both feel that the Fighting Irish will be there. And I'm thinking it'll be the Fighting Irish against Penn State, creating some history. Well, we don't want any history right now because we want you guys not to leave us. So stay tuned right now. We'll take a break. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be back in just a minute. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you, and thank you.
Looking for a vehicle? Come to Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We're a family-owned dealership that's been serving the Atlanta area for over 40 years, offering an unbeatable selection of new Fords, Lincolns, and pre-owned vehicles. Enjoy our exceptional customer service and great financing options tailored just for you. Visit us at 6790 Mount Zion Boulevard in Morrow, Georgia, located just 20 minutes from downtown Atlanta. Call us at 678-364-3979 or visit online at allenvigilford.net.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports. What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. You grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
We're back here with the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and next to me, the lovely, beautiful Queen, Miss Tree Dolman. All right, before we talk Falcons, we are going to talk NFL playoffs. And Miss Dolman, I know you're a very happy woman because not one, but both of your favorite NFL teams have advanced to the NFL playoffs. And the number one overall seed for the NFC is the Detroit Lions. Who would have thought, outside of Miss Dolman, that the Lions just 3 years ago would be at the position where they are the dominant team in the NFC, number one overall seed. And we already know, Miss Dolman, your prediction.
I told you it was coming.
They're here. Yeah, number one overall seed. Really, you look at this team, multiple injuries, but they just seem to keep right on rolling. Your vantage point as a Lion fan, what's really
What's really what? Oh, think we lost Jonathan. Well, I will talk about my Detroit Lions. I am very excited. Oh, are you back?
our stone.
Oh, there we go. You're back.
Yep, there we go.
Okay. What was the question?
Yeah. So, what do you think really the big key for this Lions team? Why they have gotten to this point, and even in spite of injuries, even in spite of a game where your quarterback threw 5 touchdowns, that they find themselves knocking at the door of appearing in the Super Bowl, being the number one seed overall in the NFC. What's been the real key for you as a fan? What have you seen?
Yeah, so one of the first things that I noticed, if you can recall, when we hired Dan Campbell as our head coach, and when he had his press conference and everybody was making fun of him and laughing and cracking jokes and talking about him biting off kneecaps, I saw and I knew what he was talking about. And if you recall, I said that. I get what he was saying. Right after the press conference, I called my father. I said, Dad, he's the perfect coach for the job. I got that what he was saying was, yeah, we may get beat, we may lose some few games, but we're not just going to get rolled over. While we lose, we're going to fight and we're going to make an impact. And yeah, we'll get knocked down, but then the next time you may beat us, but we're going to make more of a comeback and we're going to fight even more until you'll see that we won't be the ones losing. So I got what he was saying. He was bringing that mental toughness. He was bringing that team charisma. He was bringing that team identity. Like he was saying, the city of Detroit, where we work hard and we fight for what we want. And certainly but surely you started seeing where, yes, we were losing, but we were starting to lose by 3 points or 1 point. We were barely lose 1 touchdown, 7 points here and there. And then we started winning. So it's been a trajectory in the right direction. And when you look at the path and you see the mentality, the team has bought in, the team believes, the coaches believe. It's just a great place to be. It's a great place to be a fan of. And you see how the players, they just play their hearts out. They believe in one another. We focus and we come with that fight, grit, which is what you see, grit, fight. It takes more. They all want more. We're all hungry for that Super Bowl. And regardless of players getting injured, players are putting themselves on the line and they're fighting. And then when Hutchinson went down, that really hurt us. But now that you're seeing, hey, he can possibly be back if we make it to the Super Bowl. They want to fight for Hutch, and they want to get to the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history since the Super Bowl era. Yes, we have won championships, but that was before Super Bowl. So it's not that we've never won championships like a lot of people say. We have been dominant, but that was just in the early years before the Super Bowl era. So since the Super Bowl era, we have never gone to a Super Bowl. And I've been saying since before the season started that the Detroit Lions are not only going to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, but we will win Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans for the first time in franchise history.
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, and the team, like I said again, is dominant. You look at their stats this year; they lead the league in scoring. They have scored a staggering 70 touchdowns this year. They lead all teams in touchdown scores, ahead of the Bills with 65, and the Ravens also with 65. Both of those guys led by two of the better quarterbacks in the league, and Josh. Well, that mercy is due blank. Yep, and Lamar Jackson. So, but yeah, man, Detroit has been just an unstoppable force all this year, man. It's been incredible how well they play, like you said, offensively and defensively, considering they've lost so many key players. Well, who would you think would be the biggest threat to stop your Lions from getting into the Super Bowl?
Nobody.
And
I'm not saying that as being cocky, because I'm nowhere, no way, no shape, no how am I being cocky thinking, oh, nobody can hang with that. That is not true. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is every single team that is playing right now is a great team. All of them. Every last one of them. But when I say nobody, I'm saying because we are so focused on us, we are so focused on our mission, we are so focused on getting to the Super Bowl. Last year hurt us really badly. And you can tell that the Lions do not want that to happen again. And they don't want to feel how we felt last year. We were 30 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl, and we blew it. And because of that, that's why I say nobody. Because when you are playing a team that is very focused and they have one goal in mind, and I'm not saying that the rest of these teams don't, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying for us, we have last year, we have the fact that the team is rallying for Hutch. The only way that he can come back and play this year is if, I'm not saying if, when we go to the Super Bowl. So there's so many things that are just lining up for the Detroit Lions this year. And that's why I say nobody. It doesn't matter who you put in our way. I feel that we will overcome that team just because we are so focused that we're going to accomplish our goal. And that's why I say nobody. But yes, every team that is left is phenomenal. Every team is really great. But we see how we played against the Minnesota Vikings. That's how you play when you're focused. We didn't allow them to score not one touchdown, not one. That is very impressive when you have Justin Jefferson. And like I say, the way that that team is playing, but we have focus. And that's why that game went the way that it went. So because of that, I say no one.
Well, let's go to social media here, get some comments here. Mr. Todd says, well, at first he says this.
Oh, Todd said, Detroit Lions peaking too soon, Tree, laugh out loud. I see a downfall. Really? Okay, so, okay. Well, I'm glad that we don't see the same thing. So you see a downfall, I don't. We're going to be Super Bowl 59 champions. I've said it. Okay, now let's see the next one where he said I need to be humble.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Humble, Todd. Todd said, Tree, stay humble. Any team is beatable. Yes, I know. Laugh out loud. The pressure to win it all will be too much. Not true. Campbell gets too emotional in key moments, like going forward on fourth. Well, again, Todd, Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions have learned their lesson from last year. Yes, most of the time he is going to go forward on fourth. We know that. But you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But I'm pretty sure that we have a game in the same situation as last year. I can assure you he would kick the field goal and not go for it when we're up by as much as we were. So, yes, he does play and coach with emotion, but we love that. That is what got us to where we are now. And I am humble. I know that any team is beatable. That's what I was saying. I'm not saying that no team is capable of beating us. I'm just saying that because of our focus, that's why I feel that we will go all the way. But I'm definitely humble. Like I say, every team that's left is phenomenal, really. Every single team that's wild card, playoffs. Listen, every single team that is left is phenomenal. And I know that. So I'm definitely humble. I'm not saying, oh, we're going to roll over everybody. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I feel that we will win and make it to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, which I'm actually picking the Detroit Lions to play against the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. So that's my pick. So we'll see.
Tree, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you, and we have a guy here that is in the room. We want to make sure to get him in here. And meanwhile, I'm going to reboot my my audio because I think everybody can hear me, but I can't hear anybody. So I'm gonna do this.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna get that rebooted. But before we do, we got to do a Falcons postmortem. And in order to do that, we're going to bring in a guy that probably knows more about the Falcons than anybody around. He's the embedded beat writer for AJC Sports for the Atlanta Falcons. He's also an award-winning sports writer. And he is Esquire par excellence and wears a mean fedora. The one and only D. Orlando Ledbetter is back in the building. D-Led, what's cooking, man?
Hey, Reverend, not too much. Thanks for having me on the show. How you doing, Miss Tree? Thanks for having me today.
Hi, D-Led. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Try to get that light off of my top of my head. Okay, there we go.
Man, he's rocking the purple. He got the cute purple fedora today. Well, listen, guys, I'm gonna let you guys chop it up here. Tree, any questions you have for D-Led, take it away. And I'm gonna try to reboot so I can hear what you guys are saying. All right, we'll be.
Sounds great. Yeah, he's having issues. Hi, D-Led. So
Hey,
please
Tree,
tell
how
us
you?
you're doing well. I'm super excited, especially with my Lions and my Vikings doing well. I'm like, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Just got to keep it going. But what are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons with how the season finished? We know that they had high hopes, and we all had high hopes for them. But what are your thoughts on how the season ended?
Yeah, I think it ended in a big thud. You got to balance it out. You want to go to the playoffs. You wanted to win the NFC South. That didn't happen. But the kind of light at the end of the tunnel is that, hey, you might have found your quarterback. I thought I saw some pretty good high level quarterback play in the 3 games for Michael Penix, who had not even practiced with the first team. And I don't think people understand how hard that is to go out there. You know the calls, the plays and how they're supposed to go and everything, but to actually go out and perform them at a high speed professional level, he did a great job, and it was a great job of coaching by Zach Robinson, TJ Yates, and the rest of the offensive staff. So, when you get over the fact that, okay, they came up short and didn't get the title and lost 9 games, you kind of got to step back and say, well, they did get the quarterback right. So that's kind of where you got to size the season up. And then we can go back and go over everything that went wrong. And we can do all that. There were definitely a lot of things that went wrong. But there were some things that worked out for them, went right. So that's how you got to try to move forward for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I saw Michael Penix Jr. out there, I was very, very impressed. And it all made sense. It was like, oh, I see why they got him. And he was definitely one to go and get. Like you said, the fact that he said he was in the mall when he got the phone call and just came out and performed. There's no way he looked like a rookie and that he hadn't been practicing with the first team. I was very impressed. And then another thing that I thought about while I was watching him play was when he was throwing the ball to our tight end and he tipped it up and got an interception. And I was thinking about the conversation that you and I were having where I asked you if they were thinking about changing that rule, because I really hate how so many of our quarterbacks get charged with an interception and it wasn't their fault. They threw a perfect pass. it was either the wide receiver spot, tight end, whoever was going for the ball. And that was another one that bothered me when Kyle Pitts did that. And so hoping, because I have heard other people say the same thing, so I'm hoping that rule changes pretty quickly. I don't like how it affects too many of our quarterbacks.
Yeah, it stays on their stats, but I think it was pretty clear, not only the Kyle Pitts one, but Ray McCloud threw one also, and tipped it up, and then they called it Jackson for Carolina, and that'll go on his record. But every account that I saw of the game, people made a point of pointing out that was not his fault. So right. I'll take 3 games without an interception. It's so much different than this happened just 2 years ago, right? They benched Marcus Mariota and put in Ritter for the final 3 games. You came away, it's like, oh, okay, maybe. And they named him the starter at the owners' meeting. They named Penix the starter yesterday. They're like, oh yeah, we gotta sit down and talk to Kurt, but yeah, we got a quarterback. So a lot different than 2 years ago. A lot more clarity at the position going into the offseason. And if you got the one common thing, Tree, and you know this, all the teams in the playoffs, they got a quarterback. They got a mid-level quarterback, or they got a really dynamite quarterback. There's nobody in there without a quarterback. So if you got the quarterback, then Baker Mayfield's in, Darnold's in. They were high draft picks that bounced around, but they could play quarterback. You got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, and the heavy hitters. Joe Burrow's not in, but that's because the Bengals don't spend no money on anything. So yeah, if you got your quarterback, Scott, you can start talking about building around them, getting some defenders, maybe getting people to come here that wouldn't come normally. So that's the big takeaway from this season for the Falcons.
Great. And I think that another big takeaway that we'll see next year, because we have our quarterback and how great he looked, I think that we're going to start seeing the stands fill up more. We all know how Michael Vick was a huge part in Atlanta Falcons history, and everywhere I went, everybody just wanted to come see Michael Vick. I think that Michael Penix Jr. will be that face for the Atlanta Falcons now, where he'll bring in a lot of a fan base and get people starting to support and come to the games even more than they're doing so now. So I think that that's huge for the team. And I also want to know, with Kirk Cousins and how his season ended, what do you think is in the future for him as far as Falcons or any other team in the NFL?
Yeah, the fans will come. They got to win now. Just having the quarterback's not going to be enough. They need to win some games. And they have started doing that this year, and that's the transition to Kirk. What happened in New Orleans when they got him the ball 4 times, he'd been hit a couple times. He started getting a little jumpy and throwing the ball earlier than he needed to, and that was the beginning of the end for him in New Orleans, and he never got better with the interceptions. So now, how do you move on? It's a couple of different things. I've been told his contract is untradeable. That would be the best thing, that you traded him and somebody took him and they paid all that money and you still got a salary cap hit of $40,000. But I've been told that contract's untradeable. Then will he stay here? Would he be fine with being a backup? And we know from Matt Ryan and the Deshaun Watson thing that most of those guys, he's trying to win a championship. He thinks he's good enough to play, and he's gonna want to go somewhere. So, they got to try to work out somewhere. He gets to Cleveland, where Kevin Stefanski is at. There'll be 6 or 7 other teams looking for a quarterback, and you could do certainly a lot worse than Kirk Cousins. I think it'll come out that he was hurt in that New Orleans game, and they kept playing him. That it wasn't hurt enough not to pull him out, but he was hurt enough to where he couldn't perform at his best, and he was throwing soft passes. So when that comes out, a new team say, hey, he's healthy. His leg is much better the second year, and he's certainly better than Gardner Minshew and Aiden McConnell, like what they had at the Raiders last year. So there'll be a place for him to go. The Falcons will have to take their salary cap hit, spread it over 2 years, and move forward.
Love it. Well, welcome back, Jonathan.
Yeah,
And
I'm not sure.
read.
My browser's going crazy. What's Todd saying?
I was gonna read Todd's comment. Todd said, D-Led, we all know Jimmy Lake going to be fired soon. We'll take the blame, and rightfully so. But question, how does Terry keep his job 4 years under his leadership, no playoffs, and Kirk signing?
Well, I think I don't know if Jimmy Lake is gone for sure. We'll wait and see. Jeff Ulbrich, who was here with Dan Quinn and Raheem, would be the logical person. Do you move Jimmy to secondary coach because maybe Jerry Gray's going because he's an Arthur Smith guy. So yeah, there'll be some changes on the defense, but that's needed. You don't need a scheme change. You need better players and coaching change. So if that happens, that'll go that way. Terry, everybody wants to say Terry's gone. You gotta look at both sides of it. Okay. Yeah. The Kirk Cousins deal didn't work out. Okay. But you did get David Onyemata. You got Caden Ellis. You got Jesse Bates, best safety in the game. You got AJ Terrell resigned. You got Ruka Roru. Looks like he's gonna be a player. They got to develop Zach Harris. Looks like that's working out. Looks like Arnold Evan-Katie's working out. So you want to just talk about the misses and Richie Grant not making it. Jalen Mayfield. You can look at the misses, but you got to look at the hits too. And when you're building a team, you're not gonna bat 100%. So Terry's not batting 100%. But what it is, hey, he done enough to please the owner to get the team out of the salary cap situation, start building, and start pointing it in the right direction. So now it's time to win. All that's over with. They've been through the valley. Now they got a quarterback. They've been through the valley. They got a quarterback. They patchwork the defense, and now they got to build out the defense and support that offensive line with some depth in case those guys start getting old or something like that. So I don't know what the uproar is about Terry's job. I mean, the fans forget the good stuff there. They just want to hone in on the contract. And it wasn't that bad of a contract when you look at Trevor Lawrence's contract, Dak Prescott, the Tua Tagovailoa contract, and even the Baker Mayfield contract. I mean, it's basically $90 million for 1 year. So, yeah, that's a little high. But you find your quarterback, and you got to move on. So, I could see it going both ways. I think the Falcons better be more concerned about if the Saints come in and say, hey, we want Terry Fontenot to come back and work under Mickey Loomis. Then the Falcons are going to probably have to go out and get Brad Holmes as assistant in Detroit or LA. So that's what we're waiting for here to see how things shake out.
I said they some big misses, D-Led, for Terry.
Some big hits too.
Look, at the end of the day, D-Led, you hit it on the head. I mean, we can all flip out, but the realities is that at least one of the guys who he says is a generational player actually appears to be that way. Bijan is actually living up to all the billing. This guy is if
Drake London too.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you got a 100 catch wide receiver. You got a 1,900 yard all purpose back in your backfield. So you got to give the guy credit for those two. And still, even though he was in and out this year, we don't know still yet what Kyle Pitts will do in his final year of his extension. I guess the next to final year of extension. Who knows? With a Michael Penix, we might see more of what we saw when he caught that touchdown dart from him. And now all of a sudden you got another hit. So yeah, man, at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is that, and I know I was going off the rails myself, but I had to stop and think about it. I said, in essence, Kirk Cousins did something that I don't think anybody's seen before. A quarterback basically go from 100 to 0 in like 2 games. No one's, I mean, even pundits, guys that were talking, they said, dude, we've never seen anything like that where a guy just fell off the cliff. And unfortunately, I guess now if we have to blame somebody, it would have to be somebody in the Falcons medical staff, because you had a guy that had a bad shoulder. He always coming off of an Achilles. Somebody says, hey, man, this guy cannot play and run an NFL-style defense, you know, the way we're set up. I mean, against a defense. I mean, so if anybody needs to get some more blame, it's maybe those little secret guys back there in the medical tent to approve this guy to play. Because clearly something's wrong.
Yeah, they tried to play and cover up his physical deficiencies, but people caught up to that.
Right.
And then they started sitting on the routes, and the guy in Minnesota was standing right in front of the receiver. He was like, I didn't think he was going to throw it, but it was the easiest interception ever. Nobody has, seen a person go from 509 yards passing to 4 interceptions in 2 games after that.
Yeah, it looked like he threw his arm out. I mean, it seems like with him throwing the ball almost 60 times against Tampa Bay, and I guess the next game against another overtime game, he threw the ball like something 30, 40 times. It just seemed like after that, his arm was like a wet noodle, because if you remember, he had Mooney open a couple of times for touchdown. He just threw it at his feet. The ball had nothing on it. I was like, man, what? Yeah, so anyway, it just was a very, very strange thing. And once again, we get our final comments from Mr. Todd.
D-Led, somebody got to be fired. Fans demanding it. This season ended like the Titanic.
Yeah, the fans got to. This team wasn't going to do nothing but go get beat down by Detroit. It's not a championship level team. I'm okay with not firing everybody and continuing to build out. The fact is, this team is 8-9. It's right in the middle of the pack, where folks wanted them to be better than they are. If they were, they would have won the game. They would have beat Carolina. They would have beat the Chargers, the Seattle. And they stole a couple games along the way. They beat the Eagles when the Eagles should have ran the ball. And then they beat the Saints without scoring a touchdown. So the good teams don't have 12 one-score games. So I don't know what the fans are outraged about. This team it's not a good team yet. And just say it. Hey, Terry Trubisky used to say, hey, we just wasn't that good. When they went up to New York and couldn't get a first down in the playoffs against the Giants. The offensive line wasn't that good, and you got beat. This team wasn't that good, or they wouldn't have been in 12 one-score games. So, the fans just got to, I don't know, they're delusional or outraged. They wasn't that good. If they were good, we saw what good football looks like Sunday night when Detroit put that thing on Minnesota. They jumped in Sam Darnold's grill and dared him to throw the ball. That was good football. We ain't seen football like that in Atlanta in a long time. So, need to calm down and recognize that, hey, your team ain't that good right now, and they need to get better. They need to start getting better by improving and developing the players that they have on the roster now. Go sign some more, keep drafting, and do a better job of scouting and developing by the coaches.
Well, I think that's the final word right there. That sums it up. Well, D-Led, man, we appreciate you. Oh, hang on a second. Wait a minute. I think Todd's got one more rebuttal. Let's see what he's got. Hold on. There we go.
I said, D-Led, come on, man. You sound like you work for the Falcons.
I'm not going to even acknowledge that, because that's disrespectful on his part. We know that I tell the truth, and we ain't, ain't on nobody's payroll.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
so that's disrespectful, Todd. You owe me an apology.
All right, Todd, you got to give D-Led some payback, brother. So just that you better come on next week or something and get it right. Well, I'll tell you one thing we did right.
Todd. I need an apology.
One thing we always make sure to get right is that people that watch this show know how they can find out more about our guest and co-host. So you know how we do it. D. Orlando Ledbetter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Reverend. We are at AJC.com for all of our subscribers, and we'll tweet everything out at DOrlandoAJC. And we're on the Instagram at DOrlandoLed. Take care, and thanks for having me, Reverend and Miss Tree. You all take care and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, D-Leg.
Hit it. Hit it.
Oh, I forgot. I haven't been on in a while.
There it is.
Love the sweatshirt.
Miss Tree Dolman, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I wish you all many blessings for 2025 and the years ahead. You can find me on social media at Purple Diva 13 as well as Ms. America International 2022.
The Queen has spoken. All right, guys, we're wrapping up here. As you can see, I got the green screen back here, so we're kind of making it do what it do. But again, we thank you so much for joining us here this first Tuesday that we've been able to broadcast in the new year. And I'll remind you, as I always do, you see all the crazy things that have been going on around this world. So I want to implore you, if you don't have a relationship with God through His Son Jesus Christ, I'm going to tell you, please, man, please, sir, get to know Him today. It's real easy. Repent of your sins. Believe that Jesus Christ came here, fully God and fully man, and died for your sins, but rose from the dead. And when He did, two great things now are available to you. Number one, you become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And number two, an adopted child of God with all the rights therein. That means you now can go to God like a heavenly parent, asking for anything that you need or desire, and according to His will, He'll give it to you. And when you die, you go to that wonderful place called heaven, where there's none of the following: no pain, no pandemic, there's no bad people anywhere, you never get old, you never die, you never cry. And the kingdom is illuminated with the glory of God. And matter of fact, you get to see God, Jesus Christ, and all the people of love face to face. And you avoid that nasty place called hell. All the things I just mentioned won't be in hell. It's dark, it's dreary, it's fiery, it's painful, and you're locked up with the devil and all his demons, all the worst people ever on earth, forever and a day. I don't know about you, but I like option number one instead of option number two. All right, guys, until the next time we get back together again, you know how we do it. We simply say God bless you and have a wonderful rest of the day or evening, whichever may apply. So long, and take care.